All right, it's indeed a very, very good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us at this edition of The Tackle. It's a Friday, the 30th of September 2022. Tarehe ni 30 mwezi wa 9 mwaka 2022. It's another Friday. Ni Jumaa nyingine. Adicheria wiki, the Friday of the 30th of September 2022. Kama kawaida, when you join in, please like. When you like, we get to know that you're watching us. And that please share. When you share, you give someone else an opportunity to watch the broadcast. It's another Sheria Wiki edition of the 30th of September 2022. Na unakaribishwa ni join, please like. When you like, we get to know that you're watching us. Please share. When you share, you give someone else an opportunity to watch the broadcast. Kama kawaida, tuko na Daktari EKURU AUKOT. Good morning to you, Daktari.
Morning, Bitok.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
It's been a week.
It's been a tough week for us as a family.
I know. Yeah, I know. And we'll get right to that. And I'm requesting that if you are a security officer who was served before along the Kerio Valley, you are a security officer who was served before along the Kerio Valley, maybe you had an experience with the banditry attacks or cattle rustling. Yes, you can reach out. Suguta Valley. Okay, Kerio Suguta Valley. If you worked there before, please send me a WhatsApp message. I've shared my number right there, 0779-800-010. Send me a WhatsApp message, then we'll see if you'd be willing to have a conversation with us this morning. We want to understand more. What happens along that side. There's a gentleman here. Say, good morning. I'm Festus Kuto, a serving police officer now in DCI. Formerly was in STU and I was a team of operations in Alale, North Pokot in 2010 and Lo Chagula, somewhere between Sigor and Lokori inside the national park in 2011-2012. I don't know. Don't want to mention your name just in case you're not willing to speak. So if you would want to have a conversation with us, please, if you're willing, brother, if you are willing to tell us more about what happens right there, please, let me know. And Pierre is National Police Service, right?
Yeah, National Police Service, yeah.
Okay.
They used to be called KPRs.
Used to be called KPR. Okay. All right. If you would be willing to speak to us, I can send you a link so that you can join us this morning. Just tell us, give us an insight on what happens right there. Pole sana, Daktari, your loss.
Yeah, but you know, it's not just because as a family we are affected by the death of our sister, Mary Kanyaman. But this is a story of the people of Northern Kenya from independence. And one thing that people really don't understand in this country, and I hope the Ibrahim Horo, who was supposed to join us in the show from Lamu, will speak about his experience in the Suguta and Kerio Valley and Kapedo in particular experience. You know, there is a symbolic government in Northern Kenya. That has been the story all along. Okay. Actually, I'm not even sure there is symbolic. It's been an absence of government in Northern Kenya. Okay. And if it is there, very cosmetic, non-responsive to people's issues, because if you cannot provide your people with security as a government, I don't think you can say you have a government or you are safe as a Kenyan or as a national. So that's one of the biggest challenges that we have in Northern Kenya. Even before we go to things like development, roads, water, health, just your security as a human being, your life being secured. Because, for example, and maybe we'll talk more about it. You see, our sister Mary was killed because a crime had been committed, and I'll explain what that crime is under the law. They reported to the police. The police said that we actually do not have means. Tuna mafuta, tuna gari. So Mary decided to say, listen, I have a car. I can drive you so that you can go and, address the crime that has been committed. So yeah, she drove them. And that's how they all got killed, because these thugs, these criminals, were actually waiting for them. And they killed all of them. Because a Kenyan, a private civilian, offered to support the government in addressing a crime that had been committed. And that's how Mary and the 8 police officers and the area chief and another person, I can't remember his name, all got killed. And let me put it in perspective, Bitok. The fact that, we've not had a responsive government in Kenya. Let me remind Kenyans just three episodes. In 2012, in Suguta Valley,
Yes.
42 police officers were killed. I believe they were killed by the Turkana, armed bandits. Again, no investigation took place, and we forgot the story of the 42 police officers. In 2014, November, if I recall correctly, 26 police officers, again, security officers, were killed in Kapedo area. And what is memorable about that 2014 in particular is that the then president of Kenya, Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, actually flew there. He was even in a military regalia. He flew with all the big military guys, including KDF and all that. And all Uhuru Kenyatta asked for is that, can you please return the guns that you took away? Because after they killed the officers, they took away the guns. Because even the 8 police officers that were killed just the other day, we didn't see their guns. Their guns were already gone. Okay? So that's 2014, November. Now, fast forward, 2022. 8 police officers together with civilians, including our sister Mary Kanyaman, were killed. Again, their guns gone. Government is doing nothing, no investigation or nothing. When you ask yourself, honestly, the kind of budget we have in our security, what is it really for? If it cannot respond to save lives. That's the tragedy of our country today. And we are not just speaking about this issue because of our close relative, Mary. Everybody in the entire NFD.
It could be anybody. Yes, it could be anybody.
Yeah.
There's someone that we have on the line. Let's see if they have anything to say. It's related to the issue. Good morning to you. Good morning to you, sir. Good morning.
Morning.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you doing?
Fine, thank you. So, who am I speaking to?
You are speaking to Yusuf.
Yusuf.
Yes.
Okay, talk to us.
You said if someone works as a security officer in Kerio Valley area to WhatsApp you.
Yes, you've worked there before.
Huh?
You've worked there. Umefanya kazi huko?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have a story to tell? Would you be willing to speak?
What is your experience? Yeah?
What's your experience?
Your sound is in echo, bro. I can't hear you, please. Your sound is in full of echo.
There's a lot of echoes. Okay. Let me fix it. I'll get back to you shortly. All right. Nasema yanatoa wapi echo? Okay. All right. There's somebody who's willing to join in, but they're saying they would want the camera blurred. Maybe we can have them on call.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Let's have them on call.
Let's hear them.
Yeah, let's hear them out.
I think we need to hear more stories, especially from the security.
Yeah. So this gentleman was working there, and he said, I was among who survived the Baragoi massacre when my fellow 42 colleagues were slain. After that order, I was transferred to Wajir County 2016 to date. Good morning to you, sir. How are you?
I'm fine.
Mambo vipi? Unanisikia vizuri, ya?
Yes.
Okay. Unasema ulikuwa unafanya kazi huko Baragoi.
Just give me 5 minutes.
Okay, 5 minutes, all right. You call me when you're ready. Okay. So this gentleman says he was among those who survived in Baragoi in 2016. After that, I was transferred to Wajir County 2016 to date with a claim that I got experience in the battlefield. I'm willing. I've passed a lot of hell. Those guys at Arambe can choose to transfer me to wherever they wish. This is a desperation.
Yeah.
Among the security agencies.
I think, first of all, I think there's a major problem that we need to address. government does not really facilitate these fellows. I'll give you an example. In 2011, I recall, about 100 Turkana people were killed by the Merile from Ethiopia and a place called Todonyang in Ethiopia. I mean, in Turkana. Now, I remember we flew there with the former Prime Minister Raila Amolo Odinga. Charity Ngilu was in our team. Warfa, who was then the DC Rift Valley, and many, many other security guys. So when we flew to Todonyang, there is only a police post in that side of the border. Not a full-fledged police station, just a police post. Okay. And that police post is being manned by only 7 police officers.
7 only?
7 only. So even when we got there, we did not get the 7 police officers. So we said, okay, fine. Where are the rest of your team? We asked the guy in charge. He said, well, at any one time, one police officer will be traveling to Lodwar to buy supplies for the team. Okay. One police officer will probably be on leave. Another one will probably be either unwell or something like that. So at any time, you have 7 guys. So we asked them, okay, so why didn't you prevent this massacre of about 100 Turkana people? Yeah? The guy tells us, Chief, we can see from the terrain alone, yeah, about 100 marauding armed fellows from the Ethiopian side. Okay. We are only 4. Will you even care to fire a bullet? And they said the only thing they can do is to take cover to save their lives. They are right. Because how do 4 people confront an army of 100 well-armed militants? And that's the story of northern Kenya. That's the story in Kapedo. I mean, just that police officers do not want to speak about this. A couple of months back, the Kapedo GSU barrack was actually surrounded by about 60 armed Pokot bandits. And they decided, we're not going to respond because we'll all be massacred if we try to respond. So what did the armed Pokot bandits do? They vandalized a hospital, Kapedo Mission Hospital. They vandalized Kapedo Secondary School. They burnt homes, and they just destroyed stuff. It's total belligerence and domestic terrorism. And this raises for me a very fundamental question, Bitok, in our country. Why do we send troops to Somalia to address terrorists, Al-Shabaab? Why do we send troops to DRC when we cannot address our own internal domestic terrorism in this country? Kenyans are terrorized every day, and this is not just about Kapedo, where I come from. This is not just about our family because we've lost a sister, but there are many, many other Kenyans who are actually dying daily from just insecurity. We need to talk about it openly. Yeah. Okay. And the sad thing, even before we proceed further, is we share intelligence. I remember, for example, it must have been either July or August. The same place where our sister Mary Kanyaman was killed together with the 8 police officers. It's a village called Napayton. We had received intelligence that Pokot bandits were going to attack the village. What saddens us the most is the fact that we informed the government officials. I personally, I texted Kibisho, the outgoing PS for internal security. I texted Matiangi, outgoing CS for internal security. I texted Mutiambai. So, by the way, I even texted Uhuru Kenyatta himself, then as president. So what I don't understand is, So how does this government, or governments want to be helped? Because as a civilian, we offered information because we had received this intel. They have got all the machinery. If it is NIS or whatever, they can check it out. But because they didn't respond, a number of Kenyans were actually burnt. And I wish we can even share those images. Were burnt.
Wow.
And killed. So this is our story of Northern Kenya. And when people talk about the right to self-determination, the right to secede,
sometimes it makes sense.
Makes sense, because if your government is not responding to you, form your own government, self-determine yourself. And that way maybe you can address your problem. And by the way, how come today umesahau kuomba?
Ndio sasa roho ilikuwa imekuwa mzito sana. Tunataka acha tuombe ndio tuendelee. Roho ilikuwa mzito. Let's pray. By the Father, we come before you this morning. We worship you, glorify your name. Thank you for another opportunity to be alive. We thank you for this morning. Even thank you for this conversation. We also thank you for the life that we have this morning. We also want to pray for the families that have lost their loved ones in attacks in this country, and more specifically between the Sugura and Kerio Valley. We are having a conversation on this morning. We also pray for EKURU's family, even as they mourn their loved one. May you be with them, may you console them. And we pray that may this be the last lives that we are going to lose. As we start this conversation, may it edify the fabric of this country, and may every other person who joins us this morning be protected. For you pray, trusting and believing. Amen. All right. So we have the gentleman who survived in 2014. Good morning, sir. Good morning.
Sir. Yes.
How are you?
I'm glad. Niko Salamo.
Okay.
And I'm glad to join the conversation.
Asante.
And we are speaking these things because it's happening.
Kuna upepo, si upepo ama ni kuzunguka unazunguka sana. Please just be still.
No, Ubebo, this is northern eastern.
Upepo ni mingi.
Yes.
Okay, tuambie, you said you survived in 2014.
Yes, I was in Baragoi 2014. When we were ambushed by those bandits, only because of the reckless of our inspectors who are on the forefront.
Okay.
There is an intel where you are heading, where you are heading to. There is an ambush. There is something being planned of. And instead being joined by the seniors and the commanders, about the young people, you are fresh from college, you are energetic, forefront.
Okay.
You try to consult with the major that who is our commander, who is our Wabi Pakapiet, who is ahead in our surveillance. But you find commander that my friend, look at my chest, look at my stomach. You see the whole thing is that. So if we have survived, we will survive. Like after Baragoi, there is no good place here. So to the end of remember in 2012 there was an ambush of around 40 something. Yes.
42.
So we are playing the 2012 around 42 fellows who are ahead. Sasa tunaenda, we are overloaded in the vehicle. Ile backup hamuna. Distance ya kutrack ni mbali. You don't have the aerial map and the surveillance of the place. Kila mtu ni kurutu. Komanda amebaki nyuma aje anakuja na chakula. Seriously?
Komanda anakuja na chakula?
Anakuja na chakula.
Okay.
It is like do you know River Road there? Now go Kenyatta and Ambaka River Road. Katikati hapo they don't get who is there. So there's a lot of, all these ambushes failed because of poor coordination.
Okay.
because mimi nikirelate experience yangu nikiwa Baragoi na nikiwa northern Kenya, it is different.
Okay.
Surveillance level is well coordinated. You sit, muna discuss, move on the ground, kuna aerial helicopter in our survey. Because wale watu munaenda kupatana nao, yes, they are bandits, but they are not bandits with pangas. They are bandits with bullets.
With guns.
They are armed with guns, experience, wanajua terrain. They are camouflaged by day. You can pass by a bandit without knowing. Because this guy has a single go. If you have seen some photos.
They're just normal civilians.
Yes, but even the dress code is just a simple and nice mamawe. Somebody is hiding na anakulima. Anajua nikibi, you cannot pass this route. This is the only route. Kaya mnaenda Land Cruiser yenye muko overcrowded. Unajua, at least even if these guys in Baringo or Kosovo and Northeastern sahi gari siku hizi, you are just going there when you are four. Hata risasi moja ikipigwa unaweza lala chini ya Land Cruiser. I should prepare to engage. Lakini pale umejaza you are 12. You are just spread even the target. Hata ule jamaa the young bandits pale anajua our main here is not about the target. We just spray them and that is over. You cannot escape. The driver mwenyewe ni tu kurutu. Even if this guy watapatia driver amezoea train, it could be better. Lakini ukipata sasa ati wanaendea chakula, wanaendea nini utosa atatini vitu huwa kozi there.
So in your specific experience, like you mentioned should be 2014, right? 2012.
Yes, that is.
You survived 2012?
2012.
Okay.
Yes.
What exactly happened?
Okay, when we were going on 2012, we had a provision. That time tulikuwa na PC was mwisho alikuja tukaambiwa yalikuwa imposter. That is why
Kanjo, yes.
Yes. Mpaka wa leo, we still believe why Kanjo alikuwa na deal na the bandits and he had given them information prior to our visit.
Okay.
Because mpaka leo hatujaambiwa. Because mpaka sasa hatujawahi ambiwa who installed Waikanjo to be a BC. It was Mbijiwe, waliweka wakasema ni Mbijiwe. What was the process? Alifikaje mpaka
I've lost him.
Hello?
Yes, I can hear you, sir.
The bandits had information. Number two, the bandits walikuwa na releasing the bandits.
Okay.
Alafu ile interception ilikuwa inaenda kufanywa, zile ng'ombe zilikuwa zimeitwa. It was to be transported within a week. It was a matter of urgency.
Wow.
So what happened is, tulienda huko, information wamepatiana, the bandits walikuwa na, in fact those guys, they had, walikuwa na bunduki zile za KPR. Tangu hiyo wakati, the KPR of that time, they were never audited. Hakukuwa na any service mechanics kwa raia, hakuna. So those guys paid their lives and it was business honor. Those guys had to die for somebody's business to survive. Because wewe ukakuja ukatuambia Waikanjo alikuwa imposter na kesi ishia hapo tu. Even before Waikanjo there is a command after Waikanjo. Hapa unajua mkiwa kwa kikosi kuna commander mwenye ana receive information kwa the PC. So there is chain of command. So from Bijiwe mpaka Waikanjo, hapo katikati yetu we had 3 other commanders zije watu kwa crowd. But all those guys, our commanders who are going to operation, they were not there. There's only one guy. There is only one commander peke yake mwenye tulikuwa tunaenda na wao na yeye ndio alikufa. The others walikuwa nyuma, they were not in the mission. even the rescue, the procedure to rescue the surviving officers was delayed by our commanders. Unajua hakuna vile mumeatakiwa you have called Nakuru regional headquarters. Atikari inakuja kuwasif ni ya Red Cross, si ya serikali. How? Seriously. So there was a delay that even up to the rescue.
So let me ask you, Izwan, as we let you go, because I can see there's a lot of background noise from your end. I want to ask you, you've mentioned about the cows that get moved. What do you think, what motivates banditry? What exactly is it? Is it just a crime? Like, you wake up in the morning and you're like, these are just normal criminals?
No.
What is it? What motivates it?
Gerald, I'll give you one simple information, one simple example. Kari ikiibwa, uambiwe imepelekwa Kitui. Ukifuata utapata that stolen property. Wewe jiulize, kwa nini hatujawahi kuwa na recover any stolen property mali ilienda? Baragoi ni Samburu. Unaenda Kariovale mpaka Westpokot. Huko kote kuna maafisa. Hata mpaka Turkana. Hii village wamekuja wamerate ng'ombe 500. Obviously ikipelekwa village nyingine you expect uende upate ng'ombe 500. Mbona hatupati hiyo ng'ombe, zinaenda wapi?
Okay.
Biashara.
Good question. Haya. Alanyeti.
It's a bit of and that is we'll all die at some point. Yeah?
Yes.
But what pains people from northern Kenya, and especially now even for us as a family, is the complicity with government. That government officials, not the entire government of Kenya, that people in government, senior position, people in command, are aware of this criminality. See, that officer has told you very clearly that one, the Waiganja story, for example, and Mbijiwe.
What interesting.
These were people in business. They actually orchestrate this crime, which they are camouflaging. And I hope now, even for you as a media house, you should stop talking about robbery, cattle rustling, because I'll explain to you shortly what cattle rustling actually is in the context of property. But I want us to address the question of there is complicity in government, government officials, police officers, security people, who are actually doing business in this crime called cattle rustling. He has asked a fundamental question. Who on earth was Waiganja? Waiganja was a businessman being used. He was supposed to be a very, very senior police officer, quote unquote, because he wasn't. He's not recruited. He's just he's a thug. But somebody in the police service, somebody in the government installed Waiganja to be in that business, to coordinate and work with criminals. The criminals that killed our cops in Suguta Valley, the 42 of them, the criminals that killed our cops in Kapedo, the 26 of them, and the criminals that killed our cops in Napeto just the other day, the 8 of them. Because for some reason, these criminals have intel in advance that there is a response from government is coming. And then somebody is also delaying that response. Because like he says, you have radioed. Instead of maybe of a chopper being flown, you are told, kuna gari inakuja. A vehicle living in Nakuru, you know, let's give Kenyans perspective. Nakuru and Baragoi, you're talking about maybe 5 hours drive.
Please move your mic a little bit on that side.
Yeah.
Just songesha too. No. Just lift it. Yes.
So,
yes.
You're talking about 5 hours drive. At the very least. So how do you respond? And you see, that's just up to Baragoi. Before you go to Suguta Valley, we call it the Valley of Death, actually. You're probably speaking about another 2 hours. That's 7 hours. So this officer is telling us, first, This is organized crime.
And as you mentioned, even that vehicle that you don't know about, the Red Cross vehicle.
Yes.
It's not the
It's not even government vehicle.
Red Cross.
It's organized crime. And it's organized by our own government officials who know exactly the theatrics, the intrigues between. Because like he asked a fundamental question. Leo hii Nairobi, let me ask you, I mean, we are in Nairobi. Hata ng'ombe 5 ama ng'ombe 10 ikitembea kwa hii barabara Ngong Road.
Utaona.
Si utaona?
Yeah.
How then do you steal 200 cows, 300 cows, alafu zina disappear into thin air?
500 cows.
It's organized crime. And government is complicit. Government knows who are the people who are actually doing this. The other thing he has raised, which is very fundamental, is information.
Yes.
Even when you give information, it's ignored. Personally, I've given information, like I'm telling you the example, for example, of Capedo na Peyton. You know, the sad thing Bitok is, if someone like me, who has direct contact with some most senior government officials, including the president of this country, can be ignored, imagine an ordinary Kenyan who does not have their contacts. So government does not care about information, and it makes a mockery of the so-called Nyumba Kumi initiative. Because Nyumba Kumi initiative is supposed to say, you as a Kenyan, as a neighbor, provide us with information so that we can secure your security. Okay? So, and of course, the third thing that he has raised, which is very, very, very fundamental, is how they are ill-equipped as a security force to respond to crime. And it's not just about Northern Kenya, by the way. It's not just about Capedo. It's not just about Napeyton. Hata hapa Nairobi, even in this Nairobi, you can call the police and ask them, we are under attack or we suspect they are robbers. The next thing unasikia unaambiwa, hatuna gari, hatuna mafuta. Unaweza kutuma
mafuta kwanza.
Tuma mafuta. Ama tuma gari. That's how our sister Mary Kanyamani was killed, because a crime was reported and they told her, sisi hatuna facility. And of course, the fourth thing that we must say here today, Bitok, you know those bullets that kill our relatives, kill our people, they are actually manufactured in our own factory in Eldoret.
Wow. Okay.
It's a fact. We've done our own research. We have done our forensic auditing of those bullets, of those munitions. They are manufactured and they are being sold by our own security people to bandits. Because ask yourself, these bandits, do they know Ukraine or Russia or Czechoslovakia to buy bullets? They get those bullets from our own security officers. And those are the bullets that are being used to kill our own people.
You have someone else here. I don't know what they have to say. Good morning. Good morning.
Yes,
Good morning to you, sir. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Sama, boss.
Sorry sana, umeniambia utanifikia. Is this a radio station?
Yes. And you are live.
Oh, which radio station is this? Can you ask me, please? I saw that thing on Facebook, and I don't know about it.
If you're willing to speak about your experience, please proceed. Please proceed. If you have worked there or you have an experience there, please proceed. Your information shall be kept safe. All right. Kama huyu anataka kujisikia kwa radio.
You're the NIS trying to find out who we are. But by this time, by the time he calls here, how did he get to contact us in the first place?
By the time you've seen the Facebook,
But
you know.
Bitok, let's go to the fundamentals now. You know, there's been a very big excuse which we must end, and I hope we can start here at the tackle, and I hope all other media houses will actually follow.
Sure.
There is no crime called cattle rustling. Historically, what is called cattle rustling is actually a borrowed terminology from Texas in the USA. You know the story of the cowboys. They rustle cattle, basically to steal. Rustling is another way of stealing. But let's contextualize it in Kenya. So under our penal code or our criminal procedure laws, there's nothing called cattle rustling. Not even in our constitution. Let's begin by, first of all, defining what is property. Yeah? In very simple terms, property is that which belongs to you, including today we talk, hiyo simu zako, hiyo shati umevaa, hizo miwani, hiyo koti yako na kila kitu. If I take away that property from you, I am stealing.
That is theft.
If I take it violently, I'm committing another crime called robbery with violence. If I come armed with a rungu, a panga, or even a bunduki, that is violence. If I cause harm to you, if I don't kill you, I've caused a crime called grievous bodily harm. I have assaulted you. So, what is the property of a nomadic pastoralist person? It starts with the person of himself, whatever he owns or he wears, that's his property. His cows, his camels, his goats, his all that, his house. Now, when somebody comes with a gun and forcefully takes away that property, which is his cows, his goats, that person is being robbed violently. That's why our law recognizes a crime called robbery with violence. So you are taking away my property violently. In the process of that robbery with violence, you cause a death. Yeah? You know, that death is a crime. Or if I survive the robbery with violence, say with a bullet, that's manslaughter. The very least of it is manslaughter, together with grievous bodily harm. So what we need to do in this country is to not to excuse these crimes being committed using a gun and call them cattle rustling. There's nothing called cattle rustling. It's robbery with violence that results into murder, manslaughter, grievous bodily harm, destruction of malicious damage to property, you know, and all the other related crimes, okay? And for example, for murder, the penalty is that under our law, on penal code, is you hang by the neck until you die. That's what the law says. So this nonsense of excusing robbers, highway robbers, and calling it, cattle rustling is crap. We need to stop that, dialogue. Let's call it what it is. Because today, we talk, hata nikikunyang'anya mulika mwizi yako violently, nikuchape makofi nini, kupiga labda hata na mawe, I have violently robbed you of your property. Hata kama ni mulika mwizi ya 1,000 sijui ama 99, you know.
It's property.
It's property. Because property is defined under our constitution as that which belongs to the person.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, let's look at the comments as well. I'll start with YouTube. Kevin Kimano tuko site, asante sana. Dixon Cheboy, good morning. GB Salimia Daktari, I've missed him, asante sana. Dixon Cheboy, I have one guy, I can get you his number. All right, ask him if we're willing to speak.
Speak to us.
Atuambie, what was his experience like? Benjamin Rob, morning GB, I've missed this guy. Boom, Salimi Daktari. Those are good morning. GB, my prayers and sympathies to Dr. EKURU for losing loved one in that fortunate incident. But I worked with Mary a while back on several assignments by one government agency. This door, saying he worked with your sister. Jeff Uzo Kenyatta's government was full of ignorance. Okay, Atticus now from the UK. Good morning, Joe. Good morning to you. Good morning, Dr. EKURU. Thank you for the caller for telling us the truth. Organized crime, yes, that is what drives cattle rustling. Keep talking like a business of meat. Okay, this thing is business of meat. Atticus now, Gerald, we can't hear the caller. There was some distraction, but I think it became clear at some point. In Kenya, private property is not respected, nor is public property. Very unfortunate, very unfortunate. Even a person's body is their private property. Yes. Julie Murioki, Ekuru has quickly become my favorite truth teller. Okay. What is left here? Okay. All right. Coming in on YouTube, on Facebook. Let's see the guys on Facebook this morning. Bet Gideon, good morning to you. Bet Kipkagetaros, Kapchora to Kotion, Kip Kembak Murgor. Good morning. Have a wonderful weekend. Good morning to you, my brother, from all the way from Australia. Good to see you. Fade no. South Gerald. Good morning, Gerald. Tuned up from Nyerere Road, Santa Sana, Jackson Kipruta. We are tuned in. Good morning, Gerald. Good morning to you. Akandie Roberto, good morning, Gerald. Listening. Asante Sana. Rosemary Kabugi, this is extremely sad. Poleni sana wakili and your entire family. Jackson Kudo, symbolic government must be dealt with accordingly. Usia Jules, good morning, folks from Nebraska. Good to see you. Kitonga Arsenal Mwangi, Niko ndani from Leleshwa Getaway. All right, I'm trying to pick something. Because education plays a role, a small role, or no role at all in killings of humans. Ask the Russian residents of Chicago, and your answer will demonstrate that interest of the killers always prevail. Real Madrid team, as we listen to security matter, please follow me, okay? Nancy Mola used to inform us to get the perpetrators. That should be the starting point. Eddie Salimia, that man, I love how he's so open. Asante. On the Bonga Augustine, Wycliffe Kimonda, you look nice, thank you. Morning, Gerald. We talk say Paula to my brother Aukot and the family, and all families who lost their kins during the attack. Something watching live from Rumbek. Bas Njuguna, banditry seems to be well-coordinated crime. We have choppers, even if a chopper flies from Mombasa to Turkana, West Pokot, it will still find the kettle being moved, not even more than an hour away from the reported scene. Yes, by the way.
Exactly.
Yeah. Kama nimesema ng'ombe imeibiwa hapa Kilimani. You just need someone to survey. Na ng'ombe zitaonekana ikidrive.
To drive, say, 100 cows, even 50, even 10, you will see it.
Doreen Chebe says there were sightings of a white helicopter hovering over the odd areas. No one came up with an explanation on whose it was. The police denied knowledge. Whose craft was this? All right. Phoenix Vinny, it's actually absolutely sad that our brothers and sisters in blue undergo mysteries and even die for other people's monkey business to survive. We are bleeding with the government of the day to put up solid mechanisms to cap seize such acts following right from Lampu, Malaysia. Thank you. On the Bonga, education liberates, Gerald, and it's because of lack of education that the Turkana, Baringo, and Elgeyo Marakwet areas are still behind and able to continue with bad cultural practices. The solution to this is not to force. Force will radicalize. Let's open these areas up, open up schools, start up socioeconomic activities, utilize area positively to positively impact the lives of these people. If we continue neglecting this region, we'll continue doing injustice to this part of the country, to our security personnel, and no matter what kind of force we'll continue using, this will not come to an end unless the government has different intentions. Mungadito continue morning, tuning in from Coventry, United Kingdom. A good part of this morning's, please pass my commiserations to our brother Dr. EKURU and all affected families. Don't know who to blame. It's the lack of seriousness of successful governments or lack of political goodwill from former and current politicians. Come to think of it, why did Moi celebrate politicians like Kettle Rustler, like Francis Lotodo? Why kill children? They don't own any cows. Okay. We were told it was for land surveying purposes, the helicopter. Anyways, I said, biggest suppliers per KMC should be investigated. Mark Bore, Mapotus rise up, Marakwet, Pokot, Turkana, Tugen, Samburu, rise up to the occasion, rise up to the vocation. I think that's a long poem that we need another time to read it. Lisa Joy, yes, this conversion is on point. Keep up the good work. Thank you, conversation. Thank you so much, Lisa. Ellen, but I agree with Dr. Indeed, it is just robbery. We cannot sanitize it. I hear it used to happen in the south between Masai and Kalenjin as well in the past. Glad it stopped. Okay, Bernard Kitu, good morning. So this is good work. Thank you so much. Alfred Bang Baxter, the rate of slaughter has dropped. What's the reason? This is government-private partnerships, okay? Kibrono Asan K, judicial killings in Kenya. We are always organized crimes by people in government and big businessmen, and government is aware of it, okay? Mesha Kipto from Kerio Valley, I think it is organized crime. I know of a situation where those robbers broke into someone's had a shed and stole everything. The exercise took 30 minutes for the robbers to do away with what the property is. 400 million from a police station with over 30 officers. Okay, Alfred Bankster, goodwill from government is what it lacks. How can we not use technology to cite the theft? How can we use face me vehicles to pursue bandits and we know all they are armed? Where are the choppers and the drones? Okay, No, the same force they applied in Mount Kenya to do away with Matakwe and the team should be also be done in Kerio Valley. I think she meant us about. Meant about. Okay. Simon Amasharia, I can relate the story. I was once attacked in Tot by the bandit. By God's grace, I escaped. What pisses me off? Why can't we use choppers to deal with bandits? Okay, because now, thanks God you are well. No one should suffer such ordeal. Okay. All right.
So, and you know, we talk, before we proceed further on the criminality of all these things, you know that police officer who called us from northern Kenya has spoken about the deliberate decisions from their superiors who they want to send to respond to this crime. They basically send amateurs. They send recruits, new guys. So
that's what the guy has mentioned.
Young people, again, who join the police force are actually being pawned. They're being used as pawns. Okay. They don't know the terrain. There is no facilitation. There is no infrastructural support to them. So basically, the senior police officers in this country are actually, again, it's another crime here we must speak about, since this is about Sharia.
Yes.
You see, when you aid or support the commission of a crime, you actually, it's what we call abetting. So the senior police officers in this country who actually make the decisions, who to send into this, into these areas, are actually abetting the commission of a crime. Because when you are sending a fellow who does not know, first of all, the terrain, you have not facilitated them well. Umesikia hata what the guy said. Ati commander anakuja na chakula tu. Uko nyuma. So you bring food to a dead person, a person who's going to be killed. We are talking about a lot of irresponsibility, habits of office. And I think for me, just outright complicity from government officials. Let's pick another incident so that this is not just about Turkana. It was in 2014 or 2013? The Garissa terrorism attack on the university.
Students, yes.
2014. I think 2014, yes, if I recall. The 143 students who were killed by terrorists. You saw the response. Again, you saw the response. Government chopper was flying politicians instead of flying Reke Squad or GSU or the army. Why do we have the Kenyan military stationed in Nanyuki, training in Isiolo? Why couldn't those guys respond to a terrorist attack on fellow Kenyans? 143 Kenyans were massacred by terrorists. Instead, we saw politicians, cabinet secretaries, PSS traveling in a chopper instead of flying a GSU or a police response unit. Then, Hadan Duale, who is now been nominated as the Minister for Defense, came out in the open and said that we know the people who committed these crimes. Up to now, Hadan Duale has not given us a list of those people who are funding those terrorists. Up to now, Waiganjo is probably walking peacefully on the streets. Up to now, Mbijiwe was retired when he was actually implicated in the killing of 42 police officers in Baragoi, Kapedo. And by the way, let's name this. In 2014, if you recall, when 26 officers were killed in Kapedo, President Uhuru Kenyatta, wearing his military regalia, fatigue, he went there. And he had a meeting with the local leadership of the Pokot. There was Asman Kamama, Kamket, the MCAs, there were the elders, and all Uhuru Kenyatta told them, nataka murudishe hiyo bunduki 25 or 26 ambayo vijana wenu waliiba. Wazee wakainua mkono juu wakasema, Rais, we are very sorry, we killed those people thinking they were Turkanas. Kwa hivyo sisi wa Turkana, hizi ni ng'ombe ama sijui ni wanyama tu wa kuuliwa. And all the president said, bring us back the guns. He did not say those words. Now that you are confessing and you are telling us it is your sons who actually committed this crime of murder, present them before the next police station. President Uhuru Kenyatta then, all he wanted is return of the guns. Okay? And up to now, there's not been any redress on those murders. So a fundamental question we must also raise at the tackle here is the fact that government does not really care about the lives of ordinary Kenyans. Government does not care about the property of ordinary Kenyans. Why? Because people in government are actually in business with these robbers, these people who commit robbery with violence when they steal the property. And that's why they will never dispatch a chopper when, for example, 100 cows, 200 cows has been stolen, because you can easily trace it.
Yes.
We are now using very high-tech technology. We have drones, we have all that. But all that is not being used. Why? Because there are beneficiaries in these killings. There are beneficiaries in this theft. And by the way, maybe I think Kenyans now should boycott eating meat in this Nairobi. Because 80% of the meat that we eat in this Nairobi is from actually arid and semi-arid lands in this country. And that meat comes to this Nairobi as a result of robbery with violence. The deaths, the killings that are happening in Baragoi, in Suguta Valley, in Kapedo, and all those other areas.
Okay. All right, if you'd like to comment on the conversation we're having on Monday before we move on, I say it's already 9. It's already 9 a.m. It's 9 a.m., 6 minutes past 9 a.m. So if you want to make any commentaries on the same before we move to other conversations on the current affairs, please call in 0779-800-010 or 779-800-010. You can call us on 0779-800-010 or 779-800-010. Let us know what you think about what happens in the Kerio stretch into Turkana County and also Suguta Valley, as Dr. has spoken on. Kipchumba Mwambok, the language of a violent man is sanctioned violence. The state should and must inflict precise and instant violence that will subdue the so-called bandits. The national armed forces should be used. Kibrap Asan K. Kamgani is one of the biggest criminals in North Rift when it comes to cattle rustling and judicial killings, with the likes of Lonyangapu and leaders in that region. I think unless you can prove that, then it's one of those statements that might get you into trouble. All right. Well, that's spoken here. Let me check on YouTube. I think there's some comments here. I think I've lost that. But anyway, if you wish to contribute the conversation, 0779-800-010 or 779-800-010 or 779-800-010. All right.
Bitoke, before we go to further comments.
Yes.
Some of us really who say have direct contact with people in government. I'm talking about high-end people. I mean, like I told you before.
Yes.
I have Uhuru Kenyatta's number. I have William Ruto's number. The PS Interior, the CS Interior, PS, the IG. And I think we must be brutally honest today, going forward. The National Police Service actually facilitates these robberies. In the process of that facilitation, they actually become the victims themselves. Because today, we have not redressed the plight of the 42 families killed in Baragoi.
Yes.
26 families.
Up to date.
Killed in Kapedo, 2014. Now there is another 8. And there are many, many, many others. These are just recent examples we are sharing. A lot of our security forces, and like that cop has said, like he has said, they send young recruitees, young recruits to these battlefields.
They don't know the terrain, they're not experienced.
Will you today, even in your show here, Bitok, if you're looking, say, for a manager, go for high school dropout or whatever, to become your manager.
I know.
You will look for somebody who has knowledge either in media, has some training, has some experience. So I agree with people who say, and my friend Kosgei just mentioned to me on WhatsApp, that I think the National Police Service actually facilitates these crimes. And we must call them to account. Why do you have, for example, I mean, since this incident happened, and I don't want people to think there's something special about EKURU AUKOT and their family.
Yes.
Okay? Let's talk about the lives of Kenyans generally. So I received a lot of calls and messages. Somebody was telling me, between Junction Mall on Ngong Road and Ngong Town, there are about 5 police roadblocks. There are many, many examples people are having, and actually they can share it. Why do you have this many cops just stopping cars? We want these cops to stop robbers, to stop killers out there. Well, KDF here in Kenya, they're in DOD, they're, I don't know, in Isli, they're wherever. Listen, the law allows the government of the day to seek permission of parliament to deploy the Kenya Defense Forces to ensure there is security. And again, talking about the law, let's all Kenyans read chapter 14 on national security.
Okay.
Yeah? Which insecurity in any country or in Kenya really must be addressed using all means that we have, including
And all resources.
deploying our KDF. We don't need, I mean, we are not at war with any country. What is the Kenya Defense Forces doing in barracks when our people are being slaughtered? Me, I've said it before, and I know people will say this is very unpopular. The KDF has no business being in Somalia. Let them man our borders. And let them make sure that there's security within our borders.
Okay.
So sending them externally is not actually preventing security internally. Because by the time people were massacred in Mandera, Wajir, Garissa, we had KDF in Somalia. We don't need that. We need to change policy. We need to change.
All right. Okay. Now, moving on quickly, let's move to yesterday. The President, William Ruto, addressed Parliament, his first session in Parliament. He spoke on a number of things. Among them is cutting the budgets by 300 billion. Said to reduce spending by government, austerity measures, I think. He also spoke on a number of other issues from Siasa, of how the opposition guy won and the president went to opposition. Right, same story. Now, let's go back. First of all, let's begin from the beginning. The issues of cabinet. What's your view on the cabinet lineup?
First of all, well, it is actually the power, of the president to pick a cabinet of his choice. Yeah. I'm hoping that Parliament will actually vet that cabinet properly. Invoke Chapter 6 on leadership and integrity. If there are people with integrity issues, I think they should not serve in the public office, because Chapter 6 is very categorical. When you are serving public office, you must not bring disrepute to that office. You must not disrespect the people, because that's an office in the public service.
Yes.
So I'm hoping Parliament will not victimize the nominees, but will vet them. Look at them, look at their track record, invoke Chapter 6 and say, okay, do you actually qualify? Already there are cries about some people who have got, questionable, issues, like they're in court or whatever. Well, I think President William Ruto shouldn't have even gone that route if there are people with questionable. There are many Kenyans who are actually unemployed.
Yes.
And there are many good Kenyans out there. So there's no point of, rewarding political supporters. And I think I will tell you this, because sometimes we prophesy here at the tackle. It could be the beginning of William Ruto's failure as a president if he focuses on rewarding political supporters. And I can see he has already done that by rewarding people like Kipchumba Murkomen, he's my friend, Adan Duale, and consequently, what President William Ruto has done to us, whereas he talks about austerity measures, cutting down the budget, but he's also telling Kenyans, go back and spend money that we do not have. Because right now, as we speak, he is subjecting us to 4 by-elections. 4 by-elections. We are talking about the senatorial position in Elgeyo Marakwet, the MP in Garissa. Which are the other 2?
Alice Waume.
Kandara. And anyway, there are about 4.
Yes.
You see, you cannot talk about austerity measures, and I hope William Ruto is actually listening to us.
Always listens.
While at the same time, you are telling us go and spend money that we do not have. Yeah. But it also, in my view, goes against the hustler narrative. If you are a hustler, why will you be extravagant in your lifestyle? Because it's extravagance. But there's another thing that we must say here. It is actually telling the people of Kenya who gave, the people of Elgeyo Marakwet, who gave Kipchumba Murkomen a job. Because Kipchumba Murkomen, Aden Duale, Alice Waume, went and applied for a job. They said, I'm jobless, nataka kazi, munipatie kazi. Wakampatia kazi. So when you are now saying, I don't want to serve you anymore, what are you telling the electorate who gave you that job? So I think President Ruto, whereas it is his right under the constitution to appoint his cabinet, but he should have really thought very hard. Secondly, Bitok, and I will remind President William Ruto, in 2009-2010, he was a member of the Parliamentary Select Committee on the making of the Constitution of Kenya, when I was the CEO of the Committee of Experts to write the current constitution. In our discussion with them, and even in the negotiation towards forming a cabinet, we had said, let's separate politicians from the running of government. We focus on technocrats. But he has forgotten. He was a member of the Parliamentary Select Committee, which was one of the organs of the Constitution Review process. There was the Committee of Experts that was in the driving seat. There was the Parliamentary Select Committee. There was National Assembly, and there was the people of Kenya in a referendum. 4 organs. Then there was a 5th organ called the reference group that brought together the religious sector, the civil society, and all that. So William Ruto has forgotten so quickly that let's try and separate politicians from service delivery, because let's bring people who can actually, and secondly, lastly, be talking. We're talking about unemployment at the rate of about 70% in this country. Meaning, there are so many hustlers out there.
Yes.
Hawana kazi.
Anataka job.
Wanataka kibarua.
Hata mimi niko hapa.
Hata wewe uko hapo. So hata ungekuwa saizi minister for information because of your experience. So why reward the same people, same politicians? So this we are double speaking in this country. And I think it is he has the presidential powers, but I think he should have thought round about it.
Ningekuwa natoka tackle sasa naingia ofisi ya serikali.
We tackle
na bendera. Lakini sasa ya Mungu ni mengi, ya kuku ni mayai. All right, talk about what are some of the things that you think he should really focus on, especially because it looks like he's beginning from a point of a disadvantage. First of all, they have spoken about that there's no money. Yesterday he spoke and he said, guys, I have some news for you. And it is not good news, it's bad news. He said that there's no money. The government doesn't have any money. I don't know, where do you think he should start? What are some of the key issues that he should begin addressing?
William Ruto should have started from the point of saying, listen, we need a lean government to begin with. And with a lean government, then we make some savings. He needs to begin by saying how we are going to restructure our national debt. Okay? how we are going to, for example, exploit economic opportunities in each and every part of this country, in all the 47 counties. You know, you cannot talk of austerity measures when you're also seen to be subjecting people to expenditure.
Okay.
So he needs to have addressed that. Yeah, I am happy that both himself and his deputy, Rigathi Gachagua, especially in their inauguration speech, were brutally honest that we have actually inherited a dilapidated economy. So then tell us exactly how you are going to try and recover or revamp this economy. The large size of government that we have today, because that's a debate. I know they don't want to talk about it, but we all know they're actually struggling with the idea of rewarding their cronies. There's already talk on the table about chief administrative secretaries, which is unconstitutional. And I'm hoping that William Ruto will actually say no to that nonsense and just say no. There's already been subjected they've already initiated a process through the Public
PSC
Service Commission to try and see whether to justify that office. William Ruto should not be struggling about political rewards to his cronies. If I were him, I will endear myself to the people of Kenya. Because if he's now going to talk about rewarding individuals, then he must also reward the 7.2 million Kenyans
Who voted for him?
who voted for him. Is he able to do that? It's an impracticality.
Okay.
So why is he focusing on rewarding only a few individuals? Those few individuals never delivered 7.2 million.
Okay.
Each one of those people delivered a single vote to him, including himself, Ruto, and maybe Rachel, Mama Rachel. They all had 2 votes, and maybe the family, whoever is voting. So it needs to run away, in my view, from political rewards.
Okay.
Because to be honest with you, that's the beginning of failure. He must endear himself to the people of Kenya. What is it that he must do that the people of Kenya will see this is a government that is actually serving us? In fact, I hope, William Ruto, you are listening. Go and read Article 1 of the Constitution of Kenya. All sovereign authority vests in the people of Kenya through their elected representatives, and they can exercise it directly or through their elected representatives. That's your authority. That's why the people of Kenya have made you the president. So don't struggle with rewarding individuals. Serve the people of Kenya.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Mike, morning, JB and Dr. EKURU. I want to ask, is Aden Duale the right choice for CS for Interior? I think it's defense. Aden Duale is defense.
You know, that's why I said earlier, whether he is the right guy or not the right guy, I think it's now up to Parliament when they are vetting. They have to look at the merits or demerits of a person who has been nominated as a cabinet secretary. You know, I watched your show with the fake general Miguna. When he said that, and one thing I agree with him, and I agree with Miguna, that you must have knowledge on public policy. Yeah. But to be honest with you, Bitok, what is the value of education in our country? If I'm training today as a lawyer, and I remember when I was interviewed to be a permanent secretary in the 2013 government of President Uhuru Kenyatta, I was very categorical when they asked me, do you have any preferences in any of the permanent secretary positions, principal secretary positions? I told him, yes, I have. I have trained as a lawyer on matters governance, because I have knowledge on public policy, but I'll be more effective if I'm either a Minister of Constitutional Affairs or Permanent Secretary of Constitutional Affairs, an Attorney General, a Minister for Regional Cooperation, or Foreign Affairs. And I told him, if you are not going to consider me in either of those 4 positions, then let another Kenyan serve as a Minister for Agriculture, Treasury, because I want them to apply their acquired knowledge or their practical knowledge or
Use
their
you.
academic knowledge, you know, because there'll be more, even when you talk about public policy, even though, I mean, I reluctantly agree with Miguna on that notion, but public policy will be more effective and efficient and, effective when you have somebody who has actually knowledge on the subject. And I think in this country, when you make a lawyer a minister for agriculture, it's probably the reason why Mweti Munya was recklessly speaking about matters agriculture, because he's a lawyer. Yeah?
Munya is a lawyer.
Yeah, Munya is a lawyer.
Okay.
He was actually my chairman at the Kenya Law Students Association back in the days. So he's a lawyer. So I think we are not short of competent people to serve in those specific ministries. And that's why I go back to the point I made earlier, that President William Ruto needed to change the tide. Why not focus on competencies? What are your, when I'm employing somebody, say in my law firm, I look at your competencies. When I give you a client's file on matters civil or commercial or criminal, I would probably ask you, have you handled this before? What's your experience in this matter? Then I'll have confidence and say, okay, at least you have practiced some criminal law in the past or civil law in the past. I'm looking at competencies and skill. Even for me as a lawyer today, I'm stronger as a constitutional lawyer, as a human rights lawyer, because that's where I focus a lot of my training on. Yeah, I can still do commercial transaction, like I do conveyancing and all that kind of thing for specific clients. But I know I never really focus my training in that area. But when you bring me a case on constitutional law, on human rights law, on criminal law, I know this is something that I can speak top of my head easily. If you give me a commercial transaction, of course I can still do it, but it will require of me to go and look at the law on matters commercial. Okay. So I'll need to refresh my memory. On matters constitutional, I don't need to refresh my memory because that's like my cup and tea. If you bring me today a case on international refugee law, it's my cup of tea. Basically. So what you're saying in short is this, that we can actually appoint people in the offices where they have got competencies and skills. And that's why as a country, we have invested heavily on education. Okay. And that's why I don't agree also with the fact that in the building of our roads, we have got Chinese engineers. I'm not being xenophobic. I'm just saying, and also having been a chairman, for example, of a university, JKUAT, we graduated engineers twice every year. So why aren't our engineers on the roads, building our roads? Why do we need foreigners? All right. We can apply the same thing in government, in the running of government. Let's pick the right guys
to run
government.
From a point of expertise. I believe the deployment of police to respond to crime should be the local residents who knows the area well, not men from other part of the nation. Collins Kibet, morning Bitok, I agree with 100% with Dr. EKURU. Quote, KDF must be deployed to northeastern and parts of Kapedo to ensure security in our country and never lose any life. Okay? Abraham Wangila Wafula, Bongoma, tuned in, thank you. Hassan, the President's cabinet appointments was 2027 political strategy, not for prosperity of the country. President Ruto's first 5 years will be for political developments and 2027 campaigns. Allah? Okay. Bernard Gibbs, from Mr. Bito, can you ask EKURU AUKOT that even those appointees William Ruto mentioned were once technocrats because talk of Kipchumba is a lawyer. MP Kandara is a lawyer. These guys understand more of bottom-up economic agenda. So let's give support to him to deliver his agenda. Kiprono Hassan Dr. Miguna is a real general and he speaks the truth. It is something still very rare to be embraced in Kenya and Africa in general. Olivia Sepkema, knowledge, competency on the subject when it comes to cabinet secretary is key. However, political appointments are largely based on loyalty. Okay, largely based I don't know this. Your comment at okay, largely based is largely based on loyalty, right? That is Olivia, right? Okay. Who else is here? Atticus, now, Dr. is correct. Their government spending and borrowing is too high and must be cut. If President Ruto feels that a politician or technocrat is good for him, deliver his promise to the hustlers, then let him be him. Or in any case, the buck stops at the presidency. Young Kipkemba talk and Dr. Kuru break this chain is a bit complex in that the government linked meat business, and definitely there must be elephant in the house. The issues of credit, we saw the president, William Ruto, cracking down on mobile lenders.
What, sorry?
On issues of credit. You saw him cracking down on mobile lenders, and he seems to have been sitting on Fuliza for a very, very long time. A man's on a Fuliza once. He started off with them. I don't know. What do you think about the credit system in this country? Is it an exploitation tool?
It is. It's largely an exploitation because, you see, let's relate it to the growth of an economy. Why do people Fuliza? Yeah?
Kusota one.
Well, yeah, tumesota ndio. Yeah, tumesota. Yeah, tumesota because uchumi ni mbaya. So whether you reduce the Fuliza, lending in Fuliza and the rest, but the focus, in my view, should be about how do we grow the economy so that we put money into people's pockets. You see, reducing the charges on Fuliza has not addressed the issue of money in my pocket.
Yeah.
Because I will still Fuliza. But not Fuliza. You see, whether I pay higher charges or not, you have not
Fuliza. It does not fix that.
Fuliza lazima bado watu Fuliza. So
kwanza unajua Fuliza kwanza inakwanga pesa yako.
Ni pesa yako.
Unaweza ukianza balance yako unaongeza Fuliza limit.
Because hata historia ya kusema ati usitume kwa hii namba, tuma kwa hii.
Tuma kwa hii nyingine. Ile nyingine iko na shida.
It's not really a solution to your economic problem. So it's a temporary relief. It's by the way, ni kama tu first aid. Hii ni first aid. Umekuwa kwa accident, umeseviwa hapo kidogo, patiwa oxygen, na kimbizwa hospitali za matibabu. Then in the hope that you will survive eventually, because first aid does not necessarily save you. Maybe it just gives you a small relief.
It aids your life.
Unaweza hospitali upate usela haina dawa, haina oxygen, so utakufa tu even after first aid. So I see the relief about Fuliza as first aid. But let's address the bigger problem. Are we able to save the life of that Fuliza person by addressing the larger question of economic
why
growth?
We are Fulizering from the word go?
Yeah.
Why we are Fulizering?
Yes, why are we Fulizering in the first place? So I want us to look at the bigger picture. We have found you. I mean, you have saved you from a road accident. We are rushing you into theater. Okay, you need an operation. Do we have the surgeon? Do we have the oxygen? Do we have the blood? Do we have all those things that now will save your life? Same thing. Yes, umpatia relief on Fuliza. But now let's address the
real issue. The elephant in the room.
The elephant in the room is I want to be able to afford
money in the pocket. Yes.
Yeah, money in my pocket. The cost of living, in the price of unga, all those things, Medicare, whatever. That has to do with addressing the question of the economy.
Because we don't Fuliza as a hobby.
Exactly. No, we don't. Yes, is it a lie who likes to say something called kalongo?
Kalongo. Let's go to my boy on the police. Another breaking news. Amisa Masa, appointed acting director of criminal investigations, was to work for 14 days. Amisa Masa has been appointed as the director of a DCI, replacing Kinoti, to act for 14 days. I was actually rooting for Nyale. I thought Nyale was going to take it.
Why is he acting for only 14 days?
I don't know. Maybe as they are trying to...
Kinoti has been told to work.
Oh, but Kinoti resigned last week.
Yeah. But let me tell you, there's something we must credit Kinoti and even Kamweru, the NIS director for. Of course, it is apparently clear that they never worked with William Ruto when he was deputy president. And I think for me, I'll call that integrity. Because they are probably saying there's no point of me handing a salary under an administration of a
That we
person
didn't
I don't
believe in,
believe in. I call that integrity. And for me, I think let's give it up to Kinoti, Kamweru, and all the other people who have resigned. Because hakuna haja ku pretend. Unakaa kwa ofisi, you earn a salary, you don't believe in the administration of this person. I like that. I like it. And that for me, I think is commendable. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Under Bwanga, politics is about loyalty. Wording loyalist is universal. I beg to disagree with Dr. You're going to say the campaigns are on. The only fit nominee to this position is Moses Kuria. Sincerely, what does Morcom know about roads? Anyway, I was in Azamia. Let's sit and watch. Okay, picture. Dr. Ruto and first aid.
Fuliza.
Mambo ni ngumu. Hi, Daktari, kama tunaendelea kufunga kibanda. It's 35 minutes past 9.
Are we taking some calls?
I think Masimu, unless if you want to call in, please, Mungela Manyanchi kwa 0779-800-010 or 779-800-010. You can call in or 779-800-010. 779-800-010 or 779-800-010. Okay, 779-800-010. Mungela Manyanchi kwa or 779-800-010. 779-800-010. Let us know what you think about the cabinet lineup by President William Ruto. Almost said Uhuru Liandanga. Okay. President William Ruto, let us know what you think about the cabinet lineup. Do you think it's primed to give you value? They try to ensure that Kenyans get the best value out of their vote. Okay, and I think, I don't know, but I tend to feel as well that sometimes they say when you're praying, you pray with your one eye open.
Because you never know. That's how. That reminds me, Bitoka, of the history of colonialism in this country. When the Muzungus came, and one of the things that Kenyans maybe do not understand, and they need to read their history, the people who are dispatched here were actually criminals who became our colonizers. Were criminals. Same people who were sent to Australia. Australia was one big prison. It was there unwanted in the UK, in the United Kingdom. So when they came here, they discovered, hey, there's very nice land, beautiful weather. So they started teaching us religion, to pray. And when we were closing our eyes, mashamba zikaenda. Then they realized, hey, we need the protection of the crown. And that's how they wrote back. You see a lot of the correspondences from the crown. We found a territory. So they came and they became settlers. Why were they settling in our land? Because that's where it started. It's not colonialism started with this idea of settlers.
Then they actually
realized this is beautiful land. We need the protection of the crown. That's how they wrote the letters. Now the crown, because the crown did not necessarily trust them, because they were just tumodofanis, as my Kikuyu friends will say. Yeah. So they sent their own lieutenants now, the Macmillans and the rest, who became our governors in Kenya. Yeah. So yes, as we pray,
keep an eye open.
Keep an eye open.
Good morning, Mbuga na Manyanchi.
Yes, good morning, Gerald.
Safi sana boss, mambo vipi?
Salama kabisa, salamia EKURU AUKOT.
Nimesalimika ndugu, habari yako?
This is Uzeni Yagona, I'm calling from Nandi.
Mambo use.
Yes, I want to comment on the political appointment of President Ruto.
Okay.
I think in these 5 years, which under the new leadership of Kenya Kwanza, I don't see any development.
Okay.
Because if you look at all the appointees who have been appointed to various capacities, the only qualified person appointed to his place is only Moses Kuria, the Minister of Trade, because he has served in that sector for long. All others are lawyers in different professions. Look at agriculture, look at roads. Even the public service, where now it will be headed by Honorable Aisha Juma.
Imagine.
So basically, President William Ruto is setting a base to even the governors at the ground to reflect it, that if the president is rewarding the loyalties with no experience in the ex-docket, then they are going to do so.
Okay.
And that is why, let me tell you, Gerald, I'm speaking as a medic. And even when they were doing the evolution for medics, involving health, the doctors wanted, the doctors are the one who asked it for the health to be default. Because they know that now they are the one who will be in the charge of chief officers, everything in health. But let me tell you today for 7 counties, most of the chief officers are high school teachers, loyalties. That is why everything is crumbled. But if our president had set a tone that give an expert to each docket, I think our governors could have followed a mirror from that sector. But now, maybe the rise is thinking of 2027. So, let's sit and watch.
You know, my prediction is this,
Fanya unabii tukienda nyumbani.
I could be wrong. Picking from what, is it Yegon has said? I said one of the beginnings of the failure of William Ruto's administration is to do political rewarding. I would like him to focus on service delivery to the people of Kenya. Once you endear yourself to the people of Kenya, because the friends that you are rewarding for ministerial positions will not reassure you your election in 2027. And now, let me go to my prediction. If William Ruto does not listen to sound legal counsel or advices we are giving him, he has made history already, as the first person, maybe in the history of Kenya, to make a first attempt to become president and got it. But he could also make history to be the first president to only serve 1 term.
All right. Bugala Wanyanchi, good morning. Good morning. Hai. Huyo naye amepotea. Haya. Yeye unabii daktari. Unasema he has already made history and he could also make history.
You can make history both ways.
He can make history both ways.
First attempt, president. First time, 1 term.
Nyumbani.
Siseme sikuambia.
No, some ask EKURU his views on CSS going to parliament. Some have argued even if the standing orders are changed, it's still unconstitutional. Speaker Muturi thinks otherwise. But Muturi is no longer speaker. Anyway, when it starts going to parliament.
You know, with utmost respect, today we are being told that our chief legal advisor will be JB Muturi. JB Muturi, in my view, hasn't really performed very well even as a speaker. He was basically what we were referring last week as a chief Omunyambi. You know, and my friend was sick here. I hope he's listening to the show. And knows exactly what you mean by a chief Omunyambi. You know, the king never farts. The king is never naked. Yeah, even if the king farts the worst, somebody will from the crowd say, "No, ni mimi, I apologize, ni mimi." So, if looking at the tenure of Speaker Muturi, former Speaker Muturi, we all can compare, for example, his performance in this parliament, in the past parliament, with that, for example, of someone like Marende. Muturi did not impress Kenyans. Secondly, from a professional point of view, and I'm not ill talking here, but you know, we have to be honest sometimes. We have to be brutally honest in this country. We have to change. Muturi left magistracy, not in a very good way. It's like a soldier who has been discharged dishonorably, now being rewarded to become a minister of defense. Yeah, and those are facts. That's why I go back to the point where I hope Parliament will pick out some of these issues, interrogate them, and actually put it on the table so that we know exactly, do we have a person we can say in accordance with Article, I think 69 of our Constitution, or 73 or 74, on Chapter 6, that is this a person who will bring respect to the office they are holding? And will it be a person that the people can respect? Because that's what the Constitution talks about. So hopefully Parliament hopefully, Parliament can then interrogate all these issues. And Bitok, like they say, secrecy was never invented in this world. Certainly not in Kenya or Africa.
Yes.
Already there are murmurs that some of these individuals who are appointed into cabinet are not the right guy. There are people who also worked in this campaign who have been elbowed.
What wanalia?
Watu wanalia. Wanalia chini ya meza, chini ya maji. Lakini siku hizi
Nalia ndani ya blanketi.
siku hizi hata kulia chini ya maji,
Bado ni maji.
because maji is transparent, we can see you crying. So afadhali ulie chini ya uji.
Ama jozi kuna mafuta kidogo itapanda juu.
Hata kulia chini ya maji is no longer
So look at tenable.
we can still see through the water kama unalia. Sasa tutafute either matope ama uji, tulie chini ya uji.
Nika Chebwa asked Daktari to briefly talk about the CS education. And I saw something interesting this morning. I think let me just
CS
share.
education is nani?
Education. To nani? Chi something.
Okay, there are, for example, issues. People have said, okay, before even as we find out who is CS education, there is a CS health. I think a fairly young lady, but already I can see. And so
Nani? The CS education is the Kisi. I think Machoge is called.
Yeah, Machoge.
Machoge, yes.
Yeah, Machoge. Now, I don't know much about Machoge. I don't really know him.
Zakiel Machoge.
Yeah.
Machoge.
Machogu. Now, let's talk about CS Health. Already there is information out there. CS Health hata ana degree. Sikini mtu ya diploma.
Tena makutumia kitu ingine hapa angalia simu online.
So, but you say in a country where you have got serious medics, you have like Dr. Nyikal and the rest, even the surgeon called Nani, the current outgoing CS of education, Professor Magoha. So why will you give Kenyans a person with a diploma? Not to disrespect people with the diplomas, it's a training.
Yes.
But is that the best?
Maybe she has other competence.
Hata Mungu anaangalia. Incompetence inaweza kuwa ni mingi.
Machoka, I don't know. You received what I've sent you.
Sitaki kuspeculate.
You've seen what I've sent you.
No, nasema ya Mungu ni mingi.
Okay. You've seen it?
Sijaona.
Okay. Yeah. You can look at that. That is your fault.
I've seen this actually.
So
Shall I read them out?
Yes, I don't know copy from the other.
So I can see here from Susan Wafula Nakumisha, PhD. But why are then people saying that she has a diploma in health?
No, she has
Anyway,
grown
these
through.
things,
She has grown
are all
through
correct. Our nominee for health is saying, I thank His Excellency William Ruto for giving me the greatest honor and privilege to serve my country as a cabinet secretary in the Ministry of Health. I will serve the people of Kenya with greatest humility and utmost dedication to ensure we achieve our quest for a better health care. That's from our nominee for health. Now, our nominee for roads, Kipchumba Murkomen, fellow lawyer, he says, I wish we can post this so that people can see. I thank His Excellency William Ruto for giving me the greatest honor and privilege to serve my country as a cabinet secretary in the Ministry of Roads, Transport and Public Works. I will serve the people of Kenya with greatest humility and utmost dedication to ensure we achieve our development plan. So who is copying from who? These messages were choreographed. Yeah?
Story for another day.
Is it, you see, and that's what I was saying, your qualifications could be many. There could be academic qualifications.
So the only thing that changed there is the ministry.
It's just a ministry, but the message is the same.
The only thing that changed is the ministry, but the message, everything is.
So, by the way, who copied from the other?
You might need to ask more comment. Who copied from? Those are as NHIF is being implemented, minimum life insurance should be established and encouraged for all Kenyans to avoid CDF excuses. All right, your tackle of the day, Doctor. It's Friday.
My tackle of the day is this. I want to wish the government of William Ruto and Rigathi Gachagua all the best. We will give them the benefit of doubt. We will also wait to see within the 100 days some of the transformational things that they will do. But most importantly, I want to tell them this. Please let it be a service to the people of Kenya. Not to individuals, not to friends. Friends will not save you. Fred Matiang'i was a very close friend of Uhuru Kenyatta and sucked up to Raila because they thought Raila will win. They did not save him. Kibisho was a friend to Uhuru Kenyatta and eventually became a friend to Raila.
Yes.
They did not save Raila. They did not make Raila president. Kalonzo Musyoka and the rest, and So, if we focus on the people of Kenya and service delivery, then we are good to go as a country. Okay. And for me, that should be the focus, and that's my tackle of the day.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. for coming in. Thank you to every tackler who has been with us since we started the show. Thank you so much for being part of this program. It was a pleasure. We are because you are. Without you, we are not. Still want to remind you that you can wear the biggest brand in town, the tackle. You can get your hoodie at only 2,500 Kenyan shillings. You can make your order on 0779 800 010. WhatsApp your order 0779 800 010. When you buy a hoodie, you're not only wearing the biggest brand in town, you're also helping us become better. So please, rush in, get your order.
For loyalists like us, why do we need to buy the hoodie? We should be given a present. In fact, we need a ceremony. She'll have a hoodie.
A hoodie ceremony?
Yeah, to party at least.
Tutaangalia maneno daktari.
So now I think I can now give an ultimatum. Kama sina hoodie of the tackle, sikuji hiyo show tena.
Utapata usiseme usitangaza. Sasa wote wakisema hivyo tutaongea na nani? Watu wote wakisema wanataka hoodie watakuja show, tutaongea na nani daktari? Tutakuja tujiongelesha hapa.
Yes, but we are building the show bana. Lazima unajua kuna Kikenya kuna kurudisha mkono bwana.
We'll return hand, Your Excellency. We'll return hand.
Ni Kenya bwana.
We'll return hand. In Kenya.
Hata ukituongelea mtu gani tunakwambia unatuachaje. Untuachaje.
Gonya. It's a pleasure having you. It's Friday. Enjoy your weekend and take care. We'll see you again on Monday on the Common Sense edition. Until then, take care and be good and be a good citizen and try and put money in your pockets this weekend, not out of your pockets, unless you have more. All right, take care. Bye-bye.